Hello, Methuselahs, and welcome back to Lives from the Tabletop. I'm your host, Mikey Nofons. Today on the show, we've got a very special guest, a guest at the tabletop, if you will. It's James Freimuller. He is the Prince of Norwich and a UK national finalist as well. He's got a very, very interesting deck to show us. He's also quite an unconventional player as well. So we're going to get a look into his mind and see how he likes to play the game of tES. Hello, James, and welcome to the show. How are you doing, mate?
Hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No, it's really good to have you on. So for those of you who don't know, me and James met at a tournament in Norwich at the old Blood Turnip event. It was great to see yourself there and also some other really good players, see some quite cool, unconventional decks as well at your play group. So yeah, shout out to all of those people in Norwich. Shout out Simon, shout out Helena. Obviously, just really great people to play with. And yeah, so it was great to hit it off with yous there. How's your play group going at the moment?
Yeah, going good. We've had obviously a bit of a break for Christmas, but setting up the next session soon. Pretty excited to get into some of these new decks that the Ravnos, Slubra, and Zemisi, I think. So they'll probably be hitting our table meta for a while now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be good to be playing with the new decks. And just before we even start going into your UK National Championship finalist deck, if people want to play tES with you, James, how would they do that if they're around Norwich and they want to come and join you and play with your play group?
Yeah, we play every other Wednesday at minimum, sometimes more than that. Wednesdays, getting 2 games in. People can just reach out to me on Facebook or other means where I'm available online and happy to, help to coordinate. And if you're here on a different day, I'm sure I can see who's about and get a game together. Always keen to get it going when people are keen to come and join.
Yeah, that's great. So, if you're watching along and you're living around the Norwich area and you want to play a little bit of tES, just leave a little comment in the comments section below and we'll get back in touch with you as well. And we'll make sure you know when and where to go to come and join James and the crew for some nice little cheeky games of tES.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be lovely.
Especially we're a 7 right now, the awkward number. So
Yeah,
always
exactly.
having
So you could be that person, you watching, you could be that person to turn it into 2 4s, the holy grail of tES numbers. And even if there's 2 of you can have a 5 and a 4. But don't show up with like another 5 people. No, yeah, that would be awkward.
Yeah. I could then make it 3 4s. So that could
Yeah. Oh, you could do 3 4s. Yeah.
up to 4 people.
The more the merrier. The more the merrier. Anyway, we've got some tES to talk about today, and we've got your deck, which was causing a bit of a stir at the UK National Championship. Because myself and PJ, my co-host that lies from the tabletop, we were hearing whispers of this deck that no one had really ever seen before. So talk to us a little bit about your deck.
Yeah. So it's a deck focused on using Inside Dirt, the Nosferatu anti-tribute card, to sneak away, pull from people. It's something I saw posted online from a US tournament. I think the original deck was called Matahari, has the moves and the Inside Dirt, and I kind of made some changes to that.
And also changed the name as well.
Yes, very important to get a good pun name in there,
Yeah, so, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about.
Harry.
Yeah, Dirty Harry, Inside Dirt, Matahari, Dirty Harry. Oh, it's just, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was absolutely meant to be.
That's a specialty of mine.
Yeah.
It's got to have a good name. Yeah.
Great. So talk to me a little bit about the deck and what it does then.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had interest in making an Inside Dirt deck before and given it a bit of a go, but always found it's sort of lacking any form of defense, and you're kind of just rushing to try to get forward quickly enough before someone else just destroys you with their dominate bleeds or something like that.
Yeah.
So when I saw this, I thought this is a great chance to sort of have a bit more of that balance to stay afloat and do a lot of other cool things with obviously the amazing card special text of Matahari.
Yeah, exactly. You know, she literally can be a chameleon and work with any clan, work with any type. You know, I was going through the deck list earlier and I saw Annoya's Theatre and I was like, hey, that's mine. You know, like as a Gangrel player myself, you know, seeing Rewilding in the deck list as well, I was like, oh, that's just that's savage.
Some of those cards which are so powerful, which normally you can't access them out of clans, suddenly you can just tap into it. It's lovely.
Yeah. So obviously the card special text for those following along for Matahari is that she can use other clans as if it were her own as well. But it's a very unconventional way, James, of trying to drain someone's pool. As someone who was very much on the receiving end of it when we went to Leeds together for the national championships, and you really did almost get me as well. It was brutal because usually my defense against that is deflecting. Defense against, you know, pool loss is just deflecting or just blocking and then going combat ends. However, I can't block something at 6 stealth. You know, it's physically impossible. But also, you don't really care about bleeding your opponent, do you? You just care about getting the edge. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of the edge in your deck as well.
So for those who aren't aware of Inside Dirt, the card is essentially that you burn the edge to then take burn free pool from your prey or blood from one of their vampires, but I don't see too much use of that in comparison. So really it's all about just finding a good way to get the edge consistently before using that action, and then carrying it out.
It's brilliant and it's ruthless. It's so consistent and it works. So, you know, I was telling the viewers just before that you are quite an unconventional player. So that is obviously a very unconventional way of, you know, taking a Methuselah's pool down. I've been on the receiving end of one of your decks before, which was a very unconventional way of taking my vampire's blood down. So, you know, you just don't like doing things the regular way, which is, you know, James played a Shatter and Crescendo deck against me previously, which is, so tell us a little bit about that card, James. What does Shatter and Crescendo do?
Yeah, so it's a deck unique to Daughters of Cacophony, using their hard to pronounce discipline.
I won't even attempt that.
It's not worth it. But yeah, essentially it's at superior, you can inflict 3 unpreventable damage to 2 separate minions of a player, not restricted to your prey either. So good for defense if there's some low caps coming at you. But yeah, essentially you just wallop people with damage they can't prevent, hit them down into torpor or burn allies even, and you got a free run to bleed them out.
Exactly. Like, so against you before, I've been, you know, having my vampires getting beaten up with a handful of combat ends and I can't do anything. And then in the next game that we played, I'm getting my pool reduced to no end with a handful of deflects. And again, I can't do anything. So is that a little bit of a testament then to you and your play style? Is that, you know, you see these conventional ways of, like, you know, you see Earth Meld, you see Deflect, you see Majesty and think, I don't mess around with those.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to get around some of those defenses which can just ruin you. You know, if you're purely bleeding and just they have a million deflections, you're just stuck there, not able to do anything right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not.
I know that. I know that all too well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not something I do in all my decks, but I always have an interest in doing something a bit unique with maybe. This guy has a cool card special text or something that's a bit different. I just, you know, not just stealth bleed or something like that.
Fantastic.
Sometimes to my detriment, right? Sometimes it's a bit janky, but it's just a bit more fun to build.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of tES, though, right? Is that there's definitely more than one way to skin a cat, and there's so many different ways of playing the game, and you can go massive vampires, you can go little vampires. This deck that we're about to go through now is a little bit of a mixture of both. So let's have a look at the Crypt as we move forward. So take us through the Crypt here, James, and obviously the star player and then the support crew.
Yeah, sure. So obviously Matahari is the star vampire here. 5 of her in here just to really make sure she's in that opening Crypt. You are a bit crippled without her, with so many cards which are just dead if you're playing with the other vampires. So pretty key. So yeah, she's got 2 votes, but really the more important thing is that her card special text to be able to play cards requiring clans, but also sects. So that means she can pretend to be an anarch for lots of the cool cards which are out now.
There's definitely going to be some support coming out.
Yeah, I think maybe some of these new Ravnos cards, even if you could pop a Break the Bonds in there or something, that could be pretty spicy.
Yeah, love it.
The one sort of downside of her on the card you'll see is that she's red lists.
Yes.
And
so just explain a little bit to the viewers about red list if they're not familiar with that, and why is that a disadvantage?
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a lesser known thing. It's obviously not popping up in any of the V5 vampires so far. Essentially, Methuselahs on their turn can spend a master phase action to mark this vampire because they're on the red list. They're sort of I'm not the best at the lore, but essentially everyone's out to get them. And so they can mark them with their master phase action, and then on that turn, any of their vampires can spend a blood and enter combat with them as a +1 stealth D action. So you're pretty vulnerable, right? If there's combat decks, even if they don't have rushes, even if they're walls, they can just decide, I can rush you now.
Yeah, but it is lesser known, and it's not exactly information that you go shouting from the rooftops. Like, how many times have you been sat there, by the way, for the record, thinking, if this person just discards their MasterCard now, or, well, it's not discard a MasterCard.
It's just master phase action,
So instead of playing a MasterCard, you can just mark.
Yeah, definitely. You get those moments where even if someone knows about it, you just have that instinct of, I've got a green in my hand, I want to play it. And then they go, I really shouldn't have done that.
It's like, there are other rules to this game which are quite lesser known.
Yeah, certainly I did have to explain red lists when people asked about it at the tournament. It'd be a bit sneaky to not give the information, but it's
especially when you're at a national championship, right? It's not your job to teach someone else how to play the game. Like, and also there is like a little bit of a role play element. Of course, you're gonna like hold back that bit of information. You're an ancient Methuselah, and you're trying to kill the other Methuselahs. So it's pretty good though. But obviously, now that this is going out there, I'm afraid more people might know about it. all 60 of our viewers.
Well, it's one of these things where it's you can. It's in the bag for a game maybe, and then someone knows about it, right? So and it's just a bit problematic when it's essentially a bit polarizing how well you do in a game based if you don't have a way to always defend against people doing that. You're either gonna have no problem because there's no combat decks near you, or instantly have a problem as soon as she comes out.
Yeah, because like as soon as you see like a wall deck next to you, or for example, like a deck that we talked about in a previous video, the Banu Hakim, Bruise Bleed deck, like you're gonna have a bad time. If they know the red list rule, of course. But anyway, let's get into the actions over here. Not the actions, the masters. Sorry. Do you want to attempt to pronounce this MasterCard that I've highlighted here?
Sure, it's a bit of a weird one. I just kind of stumbled across called Mapatano Utando.
Well done.
Again, just thank you. Again, just a cool clan-specific card from the one of the Laibon clans. Essentially, just a way to get some B reduce or potentially extra transfers. But it can be burnt with a D action. So it's not too sticky, but just if people can't be bothered to spend their actions to get rid of it, you can get some good value out of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those that, like, if it was just like a single individual card, then maybe it wouldn't be such an issue. But because you can do it turn after turn after turn,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
great. And also, this is excellent in a deck that, you know, requires you to have the edge as well. You know, and you've got loads of interesting ways of just getting the edge. Like, you've even got a card in here which just says get the edge. like, but we'll get onto that a little bit later.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
obviously,
Outside
you've
of
got
that,
Matahari, and then you've got loads of like little guys, and the 4 extra transfers as well could be quite useful. And just, you know, spamming you guys out there as well. And also, like, I imagine this is quite a useful master card as well to help dig through your crypt as well.
to get more out with instead of having to, you know, pay 1 to see 1 and then not do anything afterwards on that transfer phase.
Just using those 4 transfers and then being able to use additional transfers as well to actually do something. Like, it's the type of MasterCard that I've chosen to highlight here. And, you know, viewers at home, you can pause the video and have a look at the rest of the list here. But it is the type of MasterCard that just gives you loads and loads of value. I'm obviously not a fan of Archon Investigation, but maybe that's my bias a little bit as a stealth bleed player. But I think in general, I think there's a bit more of a wider discussion to be had about Archon Investigation, because in what I've seen, right, is I have very often bled someone, right, and they've Archon Investigation me, and then my Predator has swept the table. And so, you know, it's, but I think in this deck though, if you're gonna twist my arm a little bit, I think Archon Investigation kind of works in this deck, because of the fact that, like, you just care about getting the edge, and if you burn their vampires, just 1 less blocker.
And it's you know,
it's about defending
limited
as
in
well.
defense, right? So it's sort of last bastions of, well, if you are going to bleed me for 4, I'd say for a bit.
And it's a great card as well when you get down to that final 2 as well. And you know, you can just go boom. Yeah, you got too greedy, unlucky. And and that's the thing about your deck as well. Like, obviously, we won't talk too much about the final table at UK Nats, because sat to your right was obviously Weenie Dragon Breath rounds, and that's just a shocking deck to play with. But what I imagine is that your deck is usually quite resilient, because there's loads of little pool gain, and usually you're probably going to be one of the last few standing as well. So, you know, Archon Investigation makes a little bit more sense there as well. And any other masters that you particularly want to highlight from in here? Obviously,
well, I mean,
Dreams of the Sphinx as well has a burn the edge ability.
And Dreams of Sphinx, you know, it's good when this kind of struggles in seat 1, especially because Matahari is a 7, a lot of people are 4 and stuff. So it's it helps with the extra transfers potentially, with the extra on uncontrolled region, but also just obviously the main thing is just to be able to churn through, get some extra discards, because you can clam up on tons of stealth when no one's intercepting and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Always a staple in these sorts of decks. I'd say the 2 which are really worth highlighting are, one is the Secure Haven, the sort of the main way to try to stop the red lists rushing happening. Essentially just, you know, D-actions can't pop it on Matahari. Now people can't do D-actions against keep her nice and safe.
I actually didn't think about that. I just thought like that was just in there because it just protects your star vampire, but there's a very specific reason there, obviously, isn't there?
Because people can do it at will. It's a bit more important.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, it never happened where I had her out and got the Haven out in time in any of the games. So Yeah, that didn't go so well. But
It would have been so
anyway,
good for you to have secure Haven out against Tibor,
yes,
with obviously
definitely.
trying to bums rush you
Hmm.
and, all that kind of stuff as
Yeah,
well. But yeah,
yeah.
so let's move on to the actions here. 10
Mhm.
inside death, 9 night moves, 3 off kilter, by the way. Techie card, I like it. And one of those cards as well that does make the deck a bit more resilient.
Mhm.
These things add up. And I think
Yeah.
that's a real theme of this deck for me, is that like it all just keeps going and it keeps adding up and it keeps being a problem.
Mhm.
And there's not really that much you can do about it with conventional defenses.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us about these actions. Would you add more? Would you take more out in hindsight?
I think I would maybe trim an off kilter,
Hmm.
just because again they ended up coming up sometimes when Matahari had been killed and it's just sort of a dead card in hand. Maybe
Yeah,
take one or two of those out, even though it is a really cool tech to have.
yeah.
Otherwise, I think the chassis is really good. Obviously, rewilding is fantastic.
It's
Get rid
such
of one
a
of those.
such a
Yeah,
it feels rude. like, like just watching a non-gangrel play a rewilding just feels
yeah.
rude.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah,
for things like, get rid of a KRCG, something
yeah.
like that, which is causing you problems, is just
Just,
lovely. And make them burn pool for it. It's
yeah.
just like,
Burn a location, mate. Just
yeah.
and take 2 for your trouble. Oh,
Yeah, I think just burn a location and one pool or something like that would
oh, I'd
definitely
play it
balance.
if it
So,
was no pool. Like
yeah,
it's just that good of a card. And
yeah.
but anyway, there you go. Black Chantry, nerf it.
No,
um,
don't nerf it. It's fine.
no,
Gangrel,
it's a great card. It's a great card. I
yeah.
think should see more play, to be honest.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are the actions there.
Yeah.
This is another
It-
interesting point in the deck. So for those listening, it's there are seven Emerald Legionnaires in this deck, and obviously, there is a nerf of this card coming up. It is being changed as well. So, James, would you kindly just tell us about what this card has done for you in this deck, and
Mhm.
what's the future of this deck going to look like with or without this card, or how is it going to change to accommodate that
Yeah.
nerf?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for this deck, I think they serve a really good role in defense and being able to be a blocker, and they've got a bit of strength to whack someone for their troubles.
Yeah,
And just that recursion of being able to. I mean, I had one game which lasted through against the wall deck, where I must have got you know double digits of Legionnaires out, 10 to 15 Legionnaires out in that game just from bringing them back and back and back.
mm,
So the value of that with Matahari's special to be able to use that ability before this nerf is just
mm.
incredible. Obviously, they're free as well with the special ability.
Yeah,
Not so much for the bleed because, as you say, you don't really care about that, but just blocking and being a body and maybe a little bleed taps to tap them, blocking them, for example, is great.
mm.
Yeah, I mean, looking into the future, obviously she can still play them, still recruit them, and it's something I
But
was thinking about.
it's not the same though, is it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're all right. They're still
It's
pretty
still
cool, but
okay. Yeah,
it doesn't give that same action economy, right? That was the main
yeah.
thing. This is
Hmm.
you just don't have to worry about it once you've got one out. So I think what I'll probably do is if I sort of bring this to another tournament is got out the Legionnaires and maybe as it was defense they were kind of being used for. I was thinking about there's a Misi ally, Asan Bonsam Ghoul. It costs 2 blood, they have +1 intercept against D actions, so a bit more actually defensive.
Yeah, and could
Some
go
strength.
along well with Matahari, obviously someone that you are looking to protect a
Hmm.
bit more.
Yeah,
So
yeah, could potentially protect those red list rushes because they got the intercept.
yeah,
If
those little walking safe havens, really,
yeah.
with a body. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, so that's probably where I would go with it instead.
Mm. Yeah, well, very cool. So, and just to let people know who are watching along, myself and PJ, we are going to do a little bit more of a deep dive on the nerfs that have happened in 2023, both on Asher tablets and also a little bit more into Emerald Legionnaire, as well as the, are they still viable and whatnot as well. So make sure that you get yourself subscribed so you don't miss that one. Moving on, we've got some action modifiers, and so take us through this little package over here, James, and what you're looking to achieve with these.
Yeah, I mean, a lot is pretty standard for an obfuscate deck, right? So Cloak the Gathering, Faceless Knight, Lost in Crowds, Spying Missions, mostly for the plus stealth, not so much for the extra effects. Faceless Knight, maybe, Swallowed by the Night for some extra maneuvers in combat, perhaps, when people want to punch the hell out of you. But the main sort of cool things I think about this are, obviously, we've got Labyrinth is for non-bleed actions, and you're at your most vulnerable to be blocked when you're playing Inside Dirt, which is just a D action with no stealth on it. So to be able to go actually +3 stealth on that, it's lovely, right?
You
don't care about the
non-directed action being the key there. Well, on a directed, not non-directed, non-bleed,
non-bleed. So D actions are fine.
Just absolutely fine.
And then the other cool thing is Spoils of War, which is a Bruiser Antitribute action modifier, and that's really nice for the sustain. Basically,
it's just such a resilient deck, man.
Just,
obviously, every time you do something good, you benefit even more. And it's just a great way of cycling as well. Like, you're going to be doing this stuff anyway, so why not throw in a few Spoils of War? What about any changes? Are you going to make any changes to this at the moment?
I think I'm fairly happy with how that went. Maybe cutting, a Spoils of War, because again, as I said, it's useless without Matahari. But it's really great for the Blood and Pool game, especially because it pairs so well with night moves. Maybe what I would do is switch couple of cloaks for more Swallowed by the Nights to have some more defense in combat against.
Just to be a bit versatile there as well. So Swallowed by the Night is +1 stealth or combat ends, right?
Or a maneuver.
Or a maneuver, that's the one.
Not so good if it's Burn Hakim or something like that, but when it's Gangrel's tapping you for a 1 ag or something like that.
These little Gangrel Wall ag pokey type decks, or these Anarch decks that are no doubt going to be a bit more prevalent as well, all playing their Claws of the Dead and whatnot.
Exactly.
It's going to be a little bit awkward, to deal with. So, and then we've got a single combat card, a singular combat card, no trace. Have you taken this out?
No, I'll definitely add some more in.
Fair play.
I took a look at this deck and thought, I don't know what the meta's like in the US, but there was 0 no traces in the original deck. There was 0 combat cards. I've seen a lot of US decks where they're tournament winning in like a vote deck, and there's no combat ends in there, and I'm so shocked. I don't know if we're just more aggressive in the UK, but I would definitely add in a few more just to. It's good to be able to have one back to keep her alive when the worst comes. And I don't think there's too many grapples going on these days as there used to be.
Well, thank God, because I hate them all grapple. But at the same time, I think this would definitely be a card that you would have liked to have seen more of against T-Ball. For example, those weenie Dragon Breath rounds, like surprise, here's a gun and here's Dragon Breath rounds, and then you just go combat ends, and then they torpor their own vampire or whatever. It's like
they eat it or take it over. So
exactly. Thanks for the gun. That's all pretty cool. And then we've got a few reaction cards here: 2 Deep Ecology and 1 Delay in Tactics. The singular Delay in Tactics, that feels personal as a vote deck. Like, it feels spiteful, but you've got to defend against those big one-off call it once votes as well. They can really hurt you in this deck, especially because you play so many weenies as well. Or also like an Ancillary Empowerment. You can find yourself there with like 5 or 6 vampires and just go, oof, that's going to hurt me, or
or Reigns of Power, any of the big cap.
Yeah, precisely. So,
yeah.
I love that card myself, but obviously can see why it would be the lane tactics. Also stopping it from being played for the rest of the game as well. Put it back to your hand, but you've already played it, so
yeah, that's true. Yes, that's really good for those.
So
is a nice extra bit of defense as well, right? It's being used for the bleed reduced mostly, but if there's a really, really key thing to intercept, she does have. Frank does have inferior animalism, and I have before made him an anarch just to get around things like anarch revolts and stuff like that. So the fact that a couple of the others do have fortitude and animalism, you got a couple of little options there as well potentially.
Yeah, great. And so that brings us to the end of your deck there, James. So thank you very much for taking us through that. People in the comments, if you've got any questions for James, we'll be sure to pass them on to him. And again, just as a little reminder, if you do want to go and play some VTES and you do find yourself in and around the Norwich area, do get in touch. I think I mentioned in my Nationals report that James is a really great guy, apart from when you sat next to him at a VTES table, because obviously likes to play some unconventional decks and likes to win the game in a really unique way as well. But James, thanks so much for being on the show today, mate, and thank you for taking us through your deck. We look forward to seeing how the deck's going to evolve in a post Legionnaire world. But other than that, have you got any last couple of things to add about the deck at all?
I mean, just take a look over the deck list. I think there's some really cool clan specific stuff in there, which obviously is unique to Matahari, being able to tap into those, but Secret Library, Nosferatu Master to take a look at to get more discards, and off kills we didn't go through, but it's a lovely way to sort of get around bleed reductions because you're just gaining the edge instead of having to bleed for it. So
it feels rude. It's again just an unconventional way of doing something. I think it's you all over. Really sits you down to the ground.
I like to be able to say I can get around this even if I've only got a couple in there. So it's nice to have.
Deflection, not an issue. Combat ends, not an issue. So
I don't know. I think I encourage more people to have a bit of fun with trying to make weird stuff with Matahari or others and see what happens, because I think it's just fun to just have access to anything basically. And the other thing to mention, I guess, is that we're hosting another tournament in Norwich in March.
Yeah, definitely. What date is that? Do we know?
Well, I still need to get it finalized, but it should be on the 9th of March, the Saturday the 9th.
So Saturday the 9th of March. Wait there, that's not, is it? Is that Easter weekend?
I don't think so. I think it's near the end of March. I feel like you should know this.
Oh no, it's brilliant. Okay, perfect. Yeah, cool. Well, I know because as a vicar myself, the Archbishop of Liverpool, PJ can be the prince all he wants. Like, but yeah, so I'll be looking to get myself down to that for sure, and looking forward to seeing you again, James, and obviously Sai, Helena, the rest of the play group. They're playing with some really great people with some really great decks. Really, really good players as well, by the way. Really, I've been challenged every time that I've been down to you. So, looking forward to challenging myself again. And also bringing something a little bit different as well. I won't be playing Stanislava next time. Because I don't want to be typecast.
That's interesting. Okay. I'll get the Fear of Maquettes will go back in the box then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll bust out Stanislava. Although, and this will be another video that me and PJ do. You're allowed to sideboard now in tournaments, and
that's really interesting.
We're going to be able to take multiple decks as well, so that's going to be an interesting dynamic to our tournament. So make sure that 9th of March you get yourself free and available. Get yourself down to Norwich, and we'll have a little cheeky tournament. together, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But until then, folks, that's all from myself, Mikey Nofons from Lives from the Tabletop, and also from James. Thanks again, mate, the Prince of Norwich, coming onto the show today and sharing his deck with us and plans for the future with it. If you enjoyed the video today, please make sure that you do leave us a little like. That really helps the channel out. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can check out more videos as they come along. But until then, thank you very much, James, and we'll see you all later.